Live audience today. David Wolf's in the house. How amazing is this? This is so exciting. We are going to be having a phenomenal time today. You guys get ready, buckle up. I know many of you are joining us via YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all the different places. And you are going to be in for such a treat today because we're going to be talking to some incredible experts who are going to expand our vision of what's possible in terms of the contribution we get to make with our books. So we're going to be talking for a few minutes with Chris Trammell, then we're going to be talking with David Wolf, and then we are going to get this week started off in such a high vibration. So who's ready? I want to hear it in the comments. Those of you live in the Zoom room with us, we want to hear, like, if you're ready to go high vibe this week and just have your socks blown off a little bit today. How lucky are we to come together while most people might be still having their coffee, and we're here getting ready to have an epic week. And that's why we do this show. We do this show to rise, because when we rise, everyone rises, right? And when we win, everyone wins. And we get to start off with a powerful energy together. And we want to, we do a lot of inner game work. Today, we're going to talk a little bit about what to do when you've done that inner work and you've got your book idea and you've got your project under the works. Like, how are you going to make the impact and the income that you want and desire and deserve to make with your book? So that's what we're going to be talking about today with two extraordinary experts. And what you're going to also want to make sure that you've done is register for the Best-Selling Book Bootcamp. So if you haven't already done that, we'll put the link here and on social, and make sure that it is free. It is an entire week of training with me and our team to make sure you figure out what's the book you're writing, what's going in it, how you reverse engineer it to hit those ideal outcomes. And then you're going to be poised and ready to do what you're going to learn today from Chris and with David. So, Chris, I'm going to start. You're on a trip right now. You are taking time out of your incredibly busy schedule to be with us while you're on a road trip and you're out doing adventures. And so please tell everyone a little bit. You worked with Tony Robbins. You were invited to work with NASA. You have been a science teacher. You're a dad. You're a partner. You are, an adventurer of life. You have an incredible spirit, and you ultimately help people fulfill their purpose, right? And their legacy in the world. But you've developed a real expertise in book funnels, and we're going to talk about that today. And then we're going to move on to chat with David for a few minutes about what the incredible work that he's doing in bringing books in the world in his area of expertise in the audiobook space and beyond. And so, Chris, tell everyone a little bit about what you ultimately love doing with people.
I love it. Thank you so much, Sarah. You know that I've had a professional crush on your business for a while, just watching what you've done and me wanting to grow into that space the same way. So I'm really honored I get to be with you and your guest today. And my background is pretty much three parts. One, I was a track and field coach for about 25 years. So the world of mindset and performance and sports psychology, I would say, is my first skill set, that coaching domain. And I wasn't a natural athlete. So I had to learn things repetitiously. Like if it took a natural 1 hour, it takes me 3 to 4. But it allowed me to become a much better mechanic and technician that I now bring into my coaching practice, which is you've got to practice. Nothing comes overnight. I don't care what the gurus out there say. It doesn't happen overnight. Number two is my love for teaching. I taught at the Los Angeles Zoo High School for 15 years. I was the science department chair and curriculum writer. So the zoo was my classroom as well as a traditional classroom. So talk about being able to take the content from books and bring it to life in such a way that you can engage high schoolers was really that other opportunity for me. And then the third piece that I bring in is when I started doing my own personal development, self-development, leadership development. I started off with Landmark Education. I moved in and started doing the work with Tony Robbins as well. I found Marianne Williamson in the Course in Miracles. So I really created this container of what it is to be a human being and to really unleash your potential in the world.
Yes.
And post-pandemic, when we were all looking for what are we going to do, how are we going to put it all together, I said, well, what if I took that skill set that allowed me to take books and bring them to life through teaching, and I taught people how to coach it, and then really wove in the human potential aspect that we all want, that self-efficacy, that Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And when I brought all that together, I created, well, the first iteration was called Pastor 2.0 because I was helping sacred space leaders, which ultimately was morphed into launch your life's work because they are clear on one thing, their mission, their calling, what they're here to do in the world, and the difference they want to make. So they gave me that opportunity to really see right out of the gates that this is what I want to do in the world. And from that, I just reverse engineered. So if that's the rocket science of what we want to be, is making the difference in the world, where do we get to start other authors and speakers and experts? And that was the Author Launchpad, and just helping them get to that 4-figure, 5-figure recurring revenue.
Yeah,
So,
Chris, I love it. Are you guys so excited? So this is really fun. And I want to acknowledge when you meet David too, you're going to see today that, like, can we celebrate the divine masculine in here? Like I know we have a lot of women that come to our events, and like having incredible heart-centered women and men leaders, true leaders coming together. It's just really expanding my heart right now in such a big way. So Chris, yeah, let's talk. We're going to focus in this conversation about book marketing, specifically with a funnel. And I had 3 questions I wanted to ask you. This is kind of our fire lightning round of
please.
number 1, what does a good book funnel need? All right. So if any of you aren't even familiar with the word funnel, if you're like, oh, funnel, right? It's just the pathway. The way I think of a funnel is a pathway. How is someone going to hear about your book, get engaged about the book, hopefully buy the book, and then again, what we do with you all in Thought Leader Academy is then they hire you and work with you, right, from your book. So Chris, what does a great book funnel need to consist of?
Well, the first part definitely is you have to attract attention, right? And oftentimes, if you're on Facebook and you look off to the right, you'll see how those small ads are trying to attract your attention. For those of you that when you go onto Facebook, I'm going to start to invite you from now on, moving forward, look at those ads and see what they say. And if you like them, to screenshot it and create your version of it. Because the first thing is you have to grab someone's attention with a graphic, a statement, short, concise, that says, oh, I want that. So for me, it often says, authors want to make more money. What author doesn't want to make more money? So the first thing is you have to have a really attractive graphic or statement. That's the first thing that I say that a top of the funnel needs to have. The second thing that you're going to need to have is then obviously you have to deliver on that landing page. So it goes from graphic to a landing page. And on that landing page is your opt-in. Now, here's the thing that tends to happen on the opt-in. Yes, you're going to get the PDF, you're going to get the lead magnet, but offer one more piece, because if you've got their attention there, you want to be able to move them to what I say makes a difference is book a call, or would you like to know about my upcoming workshop? Right. And if you don't have a monthly recurring workshop, that's where you're missing right now, because you don't have anything to invite them to. So don't just give them the lead magnet, your introduction of the book or whatever it is. Invite them to something. Yes. And that's going to elevate, because they're like, oh, an expert. I go to their workshop. And now they start to get that know, like, and trust factor out of that funnel.
Completely, Chris. And we know that people need somewhere between 7 to 9 hours of interactive time with you. That's why we want you all to have a book, because if you keep being the person doing 7 to 9 hours with every prospective person, like that gets to be a lot on all of us, right? And so you want to have these thought leader assets, but in order to get people to them. So I love that, Chris. It's a attention grabbing. There's a lead magnet. There is a way then, to get on that list with them, and then something to invite them to, a recurring workshop, a training, a master class, your next event, or a strategy call, right? So I love this so much. And what's the biggest mistake, I'm inferring, but is the biggest mistake someone makes to not have something to invite them to? I'm guessing that's probably the big one, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I have authors, and one of the things, and if any of you are really outstanding all-star authors here, I like to do book and package. I think it's a really great marketing piece. And if you're not using it already, I invite all of you, mail it to somebody you like and let them do a book unpackaging, and take me, Sarah, whoever it is. And why I invite that is I just did one recently for somebody. I went to their site, and and after I got the opt-in, it just said, thank you so much. Like, take me somewhere.
Yes.
Take me somewhere. Invite me to the next step.
Yes. You guys, if you didn't know what Chris is talking about, a book unpackaging, these are huge on social media. They trend high, they get high in the algorithms, they get watched, they get shared, they get liked. So what it is you send it to someone and have them video them. What we, even a couple years ago, you would just have someone like an influencer post it. Now you want them to like a picture of them with the book. Now the big trend is show them opening the package. Like we send ours, let me see if I have one here, in these gold bubble mailers. So it kind of pops in the mail. It feels all like glam and that's
Yes.
vibe, right? I've got my glam. And so whatever your brand is for each of you, right? And then you show someone unboxing it or unpackaging it, holding it up, like, oh, look, here's the book. And if I was reading Todd Herman's Alter Ego, because I'm reading this right now, and I'm like,
Love
oh,
that.
this cool. And you're looking at it, right? And what are you doing? You're getting that 1.8 seconds it takes. That's the new stat for someone to register on a conscious and subconscious level.
Yes.
Your expertise, you have the solution. 1.8 seconds. So the unboxing videos are huge. That was what I was hoping you would share today, like a secret sauce. Now, you are currently on a road trip. You're taking time with
Yes.
your family. So we'll switch to chat with David in a minute. But can you show us, this is like in real time, you are in a physical location near where books are being sold. So show us what we need to know.
Look at you and I both have a coach that tells us mindset before mechanics. So I'm here. This is Humboldt, California, Eureka. So 2 bookstores right across the street from where I'm at. This one right here called the Book Lager. And then right down the street is another one called Eureka Books. Now, why do I offer that for you? I want you to find your local bookstore and ask them, can I do a book signing? Can I do something? Because look, it's boldness before brilliance and mindset before mechanics. I don't care how smart you are. If you're not out there hustling and making bold requests of people like I did with Sarah, who's one of my professional all-stars, you're never going to move yourself forward. So my invitation to you is, yes, do you need the technology like the funnels and things? Absolutely. But the first thing you got to do is you got to build that muscle of getting out there and trusting that this is your expertise, this is what you're meant to do, and you're going to start to share it. And if you got to start in your own backyard with the local bookstore or the neighboring bookstore, go do that. Thank you for letting me take you to Main Street here in Eureka, California.
We have a show and tell right here. This is so fabulous, Chris. And it's so true. I started by just going to events. If anyone feels nervous, start by going to events at these local bookstores, not pitching yourself yet. I would go and be what we call a good literary citizen, meaning if someone else had a book coming out, I would go support them. I would buy their book. I would bring friends. They would buy the book. I would introduce myself to the bookstore owner and then almost puke in the car on the way home because I would say, I'm working on a book. And then it was like, oh God, but I love this, Chris. Can you all tell Chris is trained with Tony Robbins, right? It's like boldness before brilliance and mindset before mechanics. So a next step could be, look what's coming up this week in your local area and go to something and support others and be in generosity and be in generosity to that bookstore. Every bookstore in Chicago at this point pretty much will invite me to do something. And it's not because I'm special and whatever. It's because I have for years since I've lived here, shown up at things and contributed. Let's be in contribution first, be in contribution. And then when it's time for me to have a next book out, people are usually very happy to invite me to, come do something. And also I'm sharing the profits of the sale, right? We're splitting it. If it's an independent bookstore, they can order it from the publisher. Those of you in Thought Leader Academy, we have trainings on all of this. Okay. We have trainings on how to approach the bookstores. We have you guys have all access to all of that. But I want everybody watching today to know you can implement what Chris is talking about right now. Attention grabbing, make sure you have something to invite people to through your book funnel, in addition to the book itself, and then go be a great contributing literary citizen in your space and start developing those relationships. And then boldness, right, Chris? Like you just, it's like, so I want to hear in the chat, Chris, you've inspired me. Let's do a Rise challenge this week. Who is going to do something bold? I want to hear the bold thing that Chris has inspired you to do. And I want to see it in the chat or the comments if those of you streaming on social. And then we're going to keep this party going because guess what you're also going to want? Okay. When you have your book funnel, When you've developed relationships and you're doing book events with your hard copy, guess what else we're going to want out there in the marketplace? Your next huge thought leader asset is your audiobook. Okay. So we're going to bring up the amazing Mr. David Wolf, and then Chris is going to hang with us for a little more. And, we're probably going to have to bring Dave and Chris. We're going to have to bring David and Chris back because I think we have a lot more to discuss on all these topics. So I know that we'll all want more to dive into these. So Chris, want to thank you for this part of the conversation already. And then we're going to have David pop up and we're going to talk about the next piece, the next thought leader asset that you need so that, oh, and I love this. So many of you are going to go into your local bookstores this week. Yay. It's going to be an amazing book week, back to school, right? Okay. So David Wolf, everybody, if you're coming to our event in Chicago, October 1st through the 3rd, you will meet David. David's actually going to come to our event and he's going to be able to be here with us in the room, as well as he's here as our resident expert for all of Thought Leader Academy Publishing. David is our new audiobook partner, and we're so grateful, David. You have also, like Chris, worked with phenomenal people in the industry. You're an industry leader. You've been a musician. So David has played in bands. David has performed at the top music venues in Chicago and the world, but he grew up here. So we have a little Chi-town connection, even though I didn't grow up here. And then David, you now have this incredible company that you guys are based in New Mexico, one of my favorite places to go and visit, Albuquerque, Santa Fe, Taos. So tell us a little bit, what did I leave out? What do we need to know about the path that brought you here?
Thank you, Sarah. Great to be with you all. Hi, everybody. Happy Monday. It's Monday somewhere. I am thrilled because the whole mission of our company that we founded about 5 or 6 years ago with this amazing team, and I'm still in awe about how this team came together. But about 6 years ago, we formed a company around helping authors and thought leaders connect their voice to the world. So that becomes our mission, our vision for the company. So everything we do that's what's the driver. That's our North Star. So it's great to be with everybody around that idea. You did a great job with the quick bio. I know we don't have a lot of time here, but yes, I was born and raised in Chicago. I became a musician. I played everything from bar mitzvahs and weddings to concerts and this and that. I had a chance to work with some wonderful musicians, and then eventually transitioned to being a composer and producer for radio, TV, and film. I worked a lot in commercials along Michigan Avenue there, and with the Leo Burnett's and the J. Walter Thompsons of the world, and then eventually formed my own music production company, and we moved to Dallas, and way back in 1985. So cut this off, Sarah. There were a few little phases to my life, as we all have these chapters, but we landed in New Mexico. And eventually I started finding my way back to my roots in podcasting and audiobooks. So our company now is a podcast and audiobook production company. And what's fascinating about those two legs of our business is there's a lot, as you can imagine, there's a lot of cross-pollination.
Yes.
We talked with a moment ago about the idea of really being what I call offline as an author, really hand-to-hand combat, if you like, going into bookstores, doing book signings, being high touch about your connectivity. Our business is decidedly an online content production company. So what we help authors do is create audiobook versions of their published works. And then we also, in many cases, help them create a podcast series based on the books that they are writing in order to basically unpack the book in a different way. Around conversations, but chapter by chapter, theme by theme. So we've been really trying to address that linkage between the content marketing that you need to be successful in the space, and also just the creation of a new, basically a brand extension of your published book. In audio, because so many folks just don't feel like they have the time to sit and read anymore. Now we can capture them while they're on the go. So
David, this is exactly right. And you've led to where this is what's so exciting. Do you see the pathway? Chris is talking about your funnel. Grab the attention, let people have an experience of you, find out about the book. Yay, that's your first asset, right? Then you've got your audiobook, because I will tell you all this, I make more in royalties every month from my audiobook downloads than the printed books. That's just the deal right now. People like to listen. They like to listen while they work out. They like to listen while they're driving their
That's
kids to
right.
school. I do the same
That's
thing.
right.
Guess what I'm doing when I'm driving my son up to first day of school tomorrow? I'll be popping in an audiobook, right? And I'm also, if I'm not listening to an audiobook, I'm listening to a podcast. So this is the pathway we're laying out for you all. We're calling everyone to think about these assets: your book, your audiobook, your podcast. This is your triple threat, right? And what I love, like David said, the podcast extends people used to feel like you had 3 months to market your book and then you're done. It's like, okay, you're screwed. Now you got to move on to a new book. No, your book can live for years and years. Look at Brene Brown. We're not going to be sorry to hear her talking about daring greatly 4 years later. Tony Robbins. No, we want the podcast. We want to deep dive. And so you give people the funnel, you give people the book, you give people the audio, because not all of them want to read. In fact, the studies show it's something like 80% of people are now choosing to consume the audiobook over the read. I do both. Okay. I read and I listen. I'm a both and person because I'm a book nerd and I consume multiple books a week, right? In various forms. So David, this is so exciting that you offer, and you really are I want everyone to understand the world-class nature of what Chris is doing and what David is doing. These are people, this is the world-class version. It's not some whatever. However, David, you are able to help people. And this is why we're so excited to partner with you at TLA Publishing to record from your home. I will tell you, after
Yes.
doing multiple books in the studio, it is very challenging sometimes to figure out the timing, the location, the as much as I love it. And it's so fun. I know Courtney's a voice coach. She's here, like we're cheering about this, right? But David, you let this be easy, and people, you can break this down into increments, and both Chris and David do a great job of like making this simple and having as much done for you as possible. I know everyone in the chat is asking for both your links. So gentlemen, if you would mind, at some point, Chris and David, let people know how they can reach out to you, get in touch with you. And like I said, we'll likely want to do follow-up episodes on both, the book funnels and on the audiobook podcast. But, David, just what again, you and Chris are so mission driven, and that's what unites us all here in this community. Is that we care about impacting people. Yes, we want to create phenomenal financial abundance, and we're a stand for that here. And it's like, how many lives can we change? And so I know, David, you and Chris share that, which is why we're so excited to be, having you on today and talking about what you do. And just like I asked Chris, David, my other question for you is, what is the mistake you see people making in terms of audiobooks and podcasting? Is it just that they don't have those two assets? Or is there anything else? Like, is there something else you want to let people think about? Like, hey, what you need to know is, is there anything else we need to know based on like this year in 2024 that in the realm of getting our assets out through our voice? Sharing our voice, or anything else we need to know right now?
It's a great question. So the way I like to think about this is, and the program that you talked about a little bit, and thank you for mentioning that, is this idea of the author narrated book, which was very new when I first started my company. Most of the big box publishers really were dissuading their authors from doing it because they're not trained voiceovers. But in the fiction world, I get it. You need an actor to pull off the dialogue, the dialect, the characterization, the arc of the story. And so in those cases, and we do about 30% of our audiobook business is fiction. But for the nonfiction authors, those of us largely on this call, your voice is your brand. I call it the voice brand. It's your connectivity to your market, your connectivity to your audience. You may be appearing on other people's podcasts. You may be speaking at events. You may be doing book signings where they hear you speak about the work you do, or even do a read. So your voice is an intimate connection to your audience. And so by continuing to have you telegraph this perpetual connectivity to your audience through a podcast or through doing multiple forms of audio or video online, you're really fortifying that relationship with your fan base. And I think that's the sort of the core of this idea that you're going to narrate the book yourself. So this is not we give you a microphone and hope it works out. The way we work is it's a very gentle coaching, interactive process. It's a virtual studio environment, high quality audio. We coach you on what to do in the room you're going to be in, so the acoustics are favorable for a recording environment. We've gotten really good at this because we've done probably 1,000 of these over the 5 years. I mean, it's really been wildly successful because you're comfortable in your own home. You can chunk it out in 90-minute sessions, which is typically how we do it. Not
Yeah.
too long, not too short, just right. Sometimes longer, sometimes depends on the experience
Yes.
of the author. I mean, we deal with a wide range of people. Some need more coaching. Some there's
Sure.
more restarts and false starts that happen as a natural course of production. And so not to get too in the weeds, but we make it easy for you, as you said, and that's a good way to think about it. And I'll be in Chicago at the event. And for those of you that are there, we can always unpack the process a little bit more. But it's tech free. It's stress free. The whole idea is we want to get you comfortable with the notion of narrating your own book so that you can do more. And it's almost like media training on the fly as you're in this process. And our vocal coach knows about this stuff, getting comfortable with the level of performance required for that focused in the microphone situation.
Yeah, I
And-
love
and-
this. I love this, David, too, because there's something, if anyone's done a photo shoot, it's sort of similar when you're dealing with your voice, like to be in an
Right.
environment where if you feel unnatural and uncomfortable, and Courtney was giving our, thumbs up about the 90-minute increments, because I know for me, it was like throat coat tea and like hydrating, and you're standing doing that. And for,
Oh,
8 hours straight, it was intense. I mean, my first book is 336 pages long. It's a memoir. And so
Yeah.
recording that over 3 days was, like a marathon, right? And even Science of Getting Rich for Women as well. I want to bring us back to your voice as your brand. Everyone, you all know, whether you've trained with Courtney, trained with Tracy Goodman in our community, who's the founder of Psychology of the Voice. The subconscious is seeking sounds, right? That's what Tracy's work proves. And she's one of our thought leaders here. And for you to have the connection instead of farming that out. And I had to audition. So I was traditionally published in my first book, and they didn't just say, you can narrate your book. They had me audition with other actors and voiceover people to do my own book, because again, it was traditional publication. And so you can't, you just can't just assume that you're the one. And it was really interesting because I felt so drawn and compelled to be able to be the one delivering that. But you are performing your book. You aren't just reading your book in a boring way. Like you have energy and inflection. So all of this to say, couldn't agree more with exactly what you're helping people do, and so grateful that you're letting us do it I am so happy to do my next books from the comfort of my home, having you tell me what equipment to use, keeping it simple, and just being able to do it in the 90-minute increments. It has been like a pit in my stomach as soon as the book comes out to go, oh God, I've got to figure out the audio, because we want it there. As I said, people want that audiobook. So what have you all learned today? Let's put in the chat, what is sparking for you? Some of you have decided you're taking our Bold Challenge this week. You're going to go into a local bookstore and start building relationships. David has inspired us to think about our voice as our brand, and to be thinking about having all these assets, your book funnel and book, your audiobook, and a podcast at some point. These aren't all needing to be done at the same time. In fact, I actually recommend spacing the launch of these assets. And I don't know what Chris and David think. Maybe Jill, we can pull the three of us just up together. It would be really just a quick, question here. I think actually having the assets spaced, meaning your printed book launch, having your audio book launch, and a podcast launch as 3 separate events gives you what? An opportunity, like Chris said, to invite people to things with you. It extends the energy. So do you gentlemen agree that that's what we want to be thinking about?
I love that strategy. The more that you could continue to demonstrate your expertise and invite people with enthusiasm and engagement and excitement, absolutely. And if you do start to record your introduction, let's say you launched your book and you want to send people an introduction, offer them also a separate lead magnet of where you read that one chapter. Because maybe that's all you've got to get started with, David, and you guys are working out the back end. But then let that be like, I'd love to offer you my very first self-audio reading, however you can say it, of my book. That's a great lead magnet.
It's another lead magnet, right? Because you're like, hey, listen while you're in your workout today. Also, y'all that are in TLA know this becomes part of your sales process. After you speak with someone and they're potentially interested, you send them the clip. You remember, these are all multi-purpose, repurposed things. Everything's Chris talking about, your lead magnets in your funnel, your book itself, your audiobook. Those become short segments that become YouTube shorts. And, there's this new trend about hybrid audios. David, I know you and I geeked out a little bit on this, but one of my favorite favorite things is where people put material that's not in the book in the audio book and on the podcast. So you almost get this sense of like your book is a podcast, and there's even
Yes.
like a video, book version. So
Yeah.
I am like tingling right now with ideas just based on what the two of you have brought to us today. And I'm so incredibly grateful for you sharing your genius with us and where you've deep dived, right? Because you all want your team of experts. You know what I mean? You want Chris to have deep dived into the book marketing funnel. You want David to have deep dived into the audio and voice as brand. I know Janet's like, this is huge here in our audience. So all of you on social, we'll make sure to post the links that both Chris and David have shared on how to contact them. If you want to learn more, you want to make sure that you have your assets dialed in, and we'll make sure to share those on all of our platforms, as well as those of you I know in the live audience. You've got it right here. Okay, so I would love if everyone could give the biggest hearts and gratitude to these two incredible leaders who are helping us make the impact, make the contribution, build the legacy, do the work that we're here to do, and reach the people through the way they want to be reached, whether it's through a podcast, whether it's through an audiobook, whether it's through the book or the book funnel. And those of you in TLA, you will have the playbooks to actually the step-by-step of all of these things, right? That's what we've got there for you. So I'm so excited that the two of you are with us. And David, Chris, actually, just because we can live vicariously, what's the next stop on the road trip so that we can hear where you guys are going next? And I have a final question for David.
The next stop is I'm going to head up to Crater Lake, Oregon, and I'll be coaching my team from the Crater Lake Lodge. And I can't wait to do a live stream. I did a live stream with one of my groups when I was in Kauai before the Kauai Writers Conference. And now this time I get to do it in front of a Crater Lake Lodge.
Oh my gosh.
That's why we do this, right? That's why we create this.
We'll be tuning in. It's the lifestyle business. And David, it's probably quite warm still in Albuquerque right now. What besides coming to Chicago, of course, and being with us in about 6 weeks, something close like that. Anything else coming up that's exciting you about this week? Like what's the passion piece this week that we can envision with you and join in your adventure on?
Oh my gosh, the passion is, and I love the work I'm doing for the authors and the podcasters that we work with. And and you talked about this a little bit earlier. The thing that really drives me as an entrepreneur and the founder of this business is observing and enjoying the impact I'm having on people's lives. And it's not just our clients and our partners, but it's also the people internally to the team. We have just an amazing culture, and that ends up transcending the experience of those that we work with, whether it's on either side of the business. So I think, that's kind of an ongoing energy source for me. It's not limited to this week. I was trying to come up with
be limited to this week. Being in love with the work. And we talked a lot this spring about the what to do in contracted markets, right? Which is about one of the things is expanding when others contract. So that's about showing up for your funnel, grabbing the attention, doing your book, your audiobook, your podcast, even when maybe other people are like, I'm just going to go hide in the bunker until the election's over or something. No way. We are expanding when others contract. We're showing up for the people we're here to serve. And then we fall in love with the work and the service that we get to be to each other and to the people that we serve. That's the magic formula, right? So let's all do a gesture. We're expanding when others contract. We're rising together. Let's get our somatic, our body, mind, and spirit lined up. This has been phenomenal. I can't think of a better way. I don't think I felt this fired up on a Monday in a long time. And I was just with my family, unplugged in nature most of last week. And so this is the biggest joy to come back and be with you all today. Thank you all for watching, listening, wherever you're consuming this. We are so thrilled. And do we think we need to have David and Chris back to fire us up some more? I think so. I think so too. There's so much more to discuss. And I know we want to not only have the theory of these strategies, but implement these strategies, which is always that piece, right? So we will definitely invite these two incredible leaders back for more. And thank you all for joining us. Let's go have an incredible week. Let's go make it epic. We'll see you all next time. Bye. Thank you both so much.